Well, here's a man who usually before a big Clare game he'll talk about it being like Christmas Eve, but I don't know if anyone, you have excitement at Christmas Eve. I don't know if you ever have a big dose and bout of nerves, but maybe he doesn't have nerves. Clare versus Tipperary, Saturday evening, 7 o'clock throw in. Both teams need the win to keep their championship hopes alive. Derrick, are you confident we're going to do it, or is there an element of nerves there? Because when all is said and done, any Clare Tipperary game always has that extra bit of spice to it. Yeah,
but I think that fantastic victory of the 20s on Wednesday night, Alan, has kind of put a major gloss on a Clare perspective heading down to Thurles. I think the blueprint for the seniors was written by the 20s on Wednesday evening. I think if we see the Clare seniors playing like the boys did below the Gaelic grounds, I think, well, then you're looking at a totally transformed defensive effort, a more clinical upfront effort. I was just marking down some stuff in the programme notes the other night. It took 33 minutes before Clare hit a wide in the Gaelic grounds.
That is seriously accurate shooting, isn't it?
Unbelievable. And I mean, Tipperary in the first half had 13. So I thought Clare was so clinical. They were brilliant. I mean, Fred Hagerty missed one free all evening, and that came from just outside his own 45 metre line. So it was just such a brilliant display. And there was a brilliant moment on Wednesday evening where at the end of extra time, the crowd kind of went silent for a moment, and then the players started shaking hands, but everybody didn't just start to applaud. It was like, Jesus, what have we just been treated to here for the last 85, 86 minutes, and what more can you do? And then it comes down to the penalty shootout.
Is that cliche? Hurling was the real winner.
Well, it was, to be fair, because it was an incredible game. There wasn't a dirty stroke in it. A couple of cards or whatever for loose bits and pieces, but it was played in a brilliant spirit. The boys in the sideline were fired up. There was moments of controversy. There was, again, Clare being guinea pigs for these new rules, whereby the extra time was started with a 21 metre free because one of the Clare backroom team had made his opinion known to Nicky O'Toole at the end of the game. It was a strange finish to the game because Ronan Kilroy had the ball in his hand 25 yards out from goal. He was about to get a shot off. Referee blows the full-time whistle, so maybe he was trying to make the draw. I'm not quite sure, but look, I thought Nicky had an okay game. Couple of bits and pieces on either side, but I don't think either team will complain too much about him. So yeah, look at that win, it being the 5th ever time, Owen Gunning lifting another cup as a Clare captain. He's done it now at minor level, he's done it at 20 level, and hopefully he has one more to do in a couple of weeks' time. So I just think that feeling from a Clare perspective going down, it would have been massive if Tip had won it, because suddenly, they have the minor final tonight. That'll be a 50-50 game with themselves in Limerick. So suddenly you could have been going down to Thurles with the minor and 20 cups already there, and they're ready to kind of put a knife in you as well. So it's a huge dynamic to have won that game.
And just before we solely focus on the senior match on Saturday, I'm making a joke about that old cliche about football or whatever sport it might be being the big winner if there's a really great game. The hurling is the big winner. I suppose I'm to mention that because we've seen Mark Sheedy's incredible saves going viral and going around the world, and like ESPN, the big sports channel in the US, in their big sporting moments of the week, that was number one. And the presenter saying, I don't know much about the sport of hurling, but this is an incredible. Obviously first time he'd seen hurling, and just that you can make a save like that, phenomenal. To see it kind of go that far beyond our shores, and it is one of those kind of far and audience seeing hurling, it's great, but what happens after that? But it's still brilliant that something like that, and not in a senior game, an under-20s match has made that much of a ripple.
It does, yeah. And you know what, Mark was just outstanding. I was actually beside a couple of the Clare backroom team as the penalties started, and one of them just said, you know what, this is his scene now, this is his gig, he'll love this. And he did. Saved 3 and stuck his own one. That's a fair contribution in a penalty shootout. And there's some fantastic pictures of it. He's almost in a U shape by the time he's finished saving that last one.
I'm sure you've seen some of the memes where his hurley's 10 times the size of an R1 and all that.
He just saved it with an old style boss. Yeah. He's that good. So no, it was brilliant. And a cruel way to finish it, but I suppose you have to find a way to finish it. But tellingly, both himself and Robert Loftus said in interviews after the game that they had practiced the penalties in training on Monday night. Now that's fine art detail from Terence Fahey, because if people remember, in 2022 these two teams met in a minor final in Limerick, and it was settled by a penalty shootout at that very end, and the very first penalty that night was retaken after Mark was judged to have been stepping off of his goal line, and he even said that was in the back of his head. So like just the level of minute detail that Terence Fahy and his crew went into ahead of this was phenomenal, and it ultimately all paid off, which is great. Okay,
so look, Saturday evening, both sides, Clare on 2 points, Tip on 1. This is real must-win territory. Is there more pressure on Tipperary because they're the reigning All-Ireland champions? I suppose, this happened to Clare last year. They were the reigning All-Ireland champions, didn't even get out of Munster, although they tend to. Is the more, look, the pressure on both teams was more of it, I guess, on the home side?
Oh, without a doubt, because like they're saying, these lads now coming down across the border, are they going to be the ones to end our title reign at home? It's just, I think it's brilliant from a Clare point of view, because there has to be an element of Tip playing with a small bit of fear here. I'm not saying they're fearing Clare, they're fearing the scenario that if things go wrong here, we've been dethroned by Clare in Thurles. Like, if that was
the look on Derrick's face, folks,
right? If that was the opposite, like if Clare were saying, Jesus, are they going to come over that bridge in Killaloe and do this to us? You'd be raging, And in a lot of ways, they really did hit a hammer blow to Clare last year in that. So there's all that tied into the mix. There's the disappointment of that Limerick defeat, how the players will have responded from that. I thought it really telling and honest. In fairness, now we'll hear a full interview tonight on Sideline View with Ken Ralph, but people may have heard the clip this morning on our news bulletins. He labelled it a no-show. And, those times as local journalists, right, you might be a small bit fearful of saying the wrong thing that might be taken up the wrong way, but I was really encouraged to hear that, because it means that within their own camp they're saying what everyone else is saying, and if there's that honesty and that acceptance of this wasn't good enough, well, that's good, because you can only build from the foundation then. So that I think is, I just bite up my feeling on it anyway.
Look, we saw Limerick score 30 points last day out, but goals, if Clare are going to win this game, they're going to have to tighten up at the back, because between the Limerick game, the Waterford game, and you referenced Tip's win in Ennis last year and the number of goals they scored, that's an issue.
That's the last remaining big question. Will we see a +1? Will we see some element of a defensive cover? A lot of this might be even dictated by what Tipperary do. If they decide to sit Ronan Maher back in a sitting 6 position and pull everyone back a half a line on that, it could actually create the +1 scenario for Clare without us having to instigate it. And we know Brian Lohan's way is 6 on 6, beat your man, win your ball, and that has been his way always, other than that one All-Ireland semi-final where we deployed the sweeper against Kilkenny. So I think, but there has to be an element now of, lads, we have to get some bit of protection back there. There's too much space, and Tip have too much pace in that forward line, and they've added a bit more to it now by bringing in Craig Morgan around that middle third. Okay, Jason Fore coming in wouldn't light the world up in terms of pace, but Andrew Orman, Jake Morris, these lads have pace to burn. Darren McCarthy, they're quick, so I think that's the last remaining big question. Clare have named an unchanged team. I'd say catch your programmes tomorrow evening now, lads, and use them to sit on for an extra bit of comfort, because that's all they'll be good to you. I'd be amazed if the same team starts. A couple of positional switches. Tony Kelly's named at 15, O'Donnell's at 10, Peter Duggan's on the wing as well. So that's just kind of semantics. I would be amazed, as I say, if the same team started, but it's making it so intriguing, and
it is one I think you feel Clare are going to come through.
Yeah, I think they have to. Now, again, Clare do have it's a strange phrase I'm about to say here, but Clare do have the comfort blanket of being able to go to Cork the week after if needs be. I'm saying
some comfort blanket.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I suppose for Tip, that isn't there.
Yeah,
they lose, they're gone, because they only have
out of their hands.
They only have the 1 point. If Clare win, Clare go to 4. Tip can only get to 3. They're gone, and then they have the ritual of going to Limerick the following week to take a clipping as an eliminated. It's amazing. It's an amazing dynamic that effectively Waterford are gone. There's a mathematical miracle that could happen, but Limerick have Waterford and Tip at home, who are effectively out of it if results go the way we wanted this weekend. So I think at this stage now, from a Clare point of view, win tomorrow evening, that would guarantee 3rd place, and then you go to Cork the following week with a free shot of a potential Munster final, but score difference and stuff like that will come into. But I'd say if you said to Brian and Ken and the boys right now, 1 point win tomorrow evening, get the 3rd place, get your quarter final against the Leinster opposition, and potentially see Croke Park, not only would they take one hand off, they'd take both shoulders. So I think that's a huge carrot now tomorrow. Okay, make sure you don't miss Sideline View this evening. Big preview of the game and our live coverage tomorrow evening from 7. Derrick, thank you very much.